a disturbing email to one of my friends who I dedicated my very first book to. And he contacted my two brothers, who Jeff came into my house first and I had a .45 automatic on my nightstand. And Mark came later. He flew in from L.A. and they took the weapon. They cleaned up all the cocaine and alcohol and all that stuff. And they took me on my first of two trips to a psychiatric hospital here at Green Oaks, kicking and screaming. They're trying to save my life. All I can think of is, get out of my life and leave me alone. Let me go back to the people who truly love me, at least until the cocaine is gone. The people I party with, they weren't having any of that. And much to their chagrin, being a lawyer, I knew what to say to the psychiatric attending physician down there. I'm not a danger to myself. I'm not a danger to others. So they couldn't put a psychiatric hold on me, which is what my two brothers wanted.
Right.
So they took me back home and they took my car keys saying, we're going to stay in your house for 2 weeks and, everything will be okay and don't go out. And that's not how addiction works either. But that my family's no different than anyone else trying to figure it out. My thought was, no problem. My drug dealer delivers to my house. So the party come to me, right?
Right. So that's basically a myth. People think that if you take away the car or the drugs or the alcohol, then that.
Well, there are these rituals we all go through, I think. You dump all the alcohol in the garbage. You get rid of, you delete your drug dealer's name from the phone, and you I threw thousands of dollars of glasses of Chinaware, wine glasses and stuff into the garbage. I think we all go through these rituals, but my dealer's name was in my head, right?
Right.
So, and his phone number. So it's just a ritual. It's, for some people, that's an important part of the ritual. And it was an important part for me. And,
sure. I think we all have to figure out what works for us, right?
Yeah. And I think the first step was, coming to terms with the fact that I had a problem. That was the first part of coming to terms, throwing away all my alcohol and the glassware.
Okay. So it was, in fact, your second time that you went to Green Oaks where you were able to not touch alcohol and cocaine ever again. And that was in 2007.
That was Easter weekend, 2007. After the 2005 incident, I had literally lost my law practice. I mean, I was doing cocaine in the state courthouse, the federal courthouse. I showed up to hearings under the influence. Your listeners are thinking, man, does this guy disbarred, still have his license? No, I still have it, but it wasn't for a lack of trying to lose it. And I say that tongue in cheek, but in the legal profession, it's a very real issue. There's a very high correlation between addiction and losing your license and malpractice and committing acts that it would, committing illegal acts as well. And that would cause you to have your license taken away, as we say, our ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But so I had begun dating a girl. I'd met her at the Candle Room. Her name's Amanda, and she drinks lightly. And it was during my birthday, I want to say in 2006. And my birthdays during that time lasted a week when the cocaine started and the cocaine ended. And I think we were in the middle of the cocaine on this one. And we began dating, and I was able to fool her enough that she didn't know about my drug problems, but she moved in with me. She moved in, and I remember one of my friends saying, Brian, she doesn't do what you do. You do what you do. How's that going to work? And I said to him, I'm going to stop now. Her moving in is going to cause me to stop. So I'm thinking about it now, right? I'm thinking about, okay, this isn't working for me anymore.
So at this point, you fully acknowledge it's a problem.
Yes, I'm aware it's a problem at this point. And they say about cocaine, it's fun till it's not. It was not.
Right. Okay.
It was not. And it had gotten to the point where my brother Mark was simply taking care of me. And we should talk about privilege, right? I have a lot of privilege. I have skin color privilege. I have financial privilege. I have a lot of privilege that a lot of people don't enjoy. And it would be disingenuous for me not to acknowledge that,
Sure.
right? Because we go into underserved communities, people, in different communities, there are people, you go to prison, people, high unemployment rates, people, just health insurance is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to acknowledge that, sure. But that doesn't mean I took advantage of it.
Right.
All the things that it allowed. My brothers wanted me to go to a treatment and I refused. But so we started dating, and it was Easter weekend 2007. She went away to visit her parents in Houston. And then I went out. The next thing I know, it was 2 days later. And I'm in bed. There's cocaine everywhere. There's alcohol bottles. And They had Brian Cuban wine. I'd gone to this place downtown where they made your own wine with your name on it. And I had all these bottles of this terrible, awful Brian Cuban wine, label wine. But she's looking down at me, and I'm in bed, and it's mid or late Sunday afternoon.
Right. She had actually missed a business trip she was supposed to go on, right? Is that what happened? And she came
No,
back
she
home?
went back to see her parents.
Oh, she went
home to see her parents, down to Houston to see her parents.
Okay.
So she's looking at me. 2 days have passed, almost 2 days. I'm lying in bed. I don't know what day it is. She's looking down at me, probably wondering if she walked in the right house. What's going on here? And I'm trying to think of what lie I can tell to explain this Law and Order series orgy of evidence that I might not be the person I represented myself to be.
Sure.
Right. And she's a lawyer. She wasn't having any of it. And all I could think of was kind of a metaphorical running home to mama. I said, take me back to Green Oaks. You've been to Green Oaks? Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So she drives me down to Green Oaks, and we're standing in the parking lot for the second time in my life, me, not her, waiting for intake. She's crying, and I'm thinking she's going to leave. She moved out, but she stood by me, and we dated for over a decade while I rebuilt the broken trust and found recovery, and we now will have 5 years marriage right around the corner. And we've been together over 15 years.
That's awesome, Brian. Congratulations.
Thank you. Not all marriages will survive it, but
Sure.
ours was able to, but I had to do the work for me, right? Because lots of things happen in recovery. Spouses die, children die, trauma, pets die. Things happen, and it had to survive any kind of trauma, right?
Right. So what was the difference between the first 3 marriages and this marriage? Was it you were actively working on your treatment and your recovery?
The difference was I was finally able to drop the brick wall that I had put up, so no one could see the shame I felt in myself. And when you have a brick wall up, that doesn't leave any room for love to get in. Sure. And it doesn't leave any way for love to get out.
Absolutely.
Which is why none of my marriages before that lasted more than 2 years. And so the next day, I walked into my psychiatrist's office. Now, this is April 8th. Who I'd been lying to for 2 years, getting antidepressants while I'm doing blow and drinking. That works out. And I finally started getting honest with him, started unbuilding that brick wall. And he offered me, gave me 2 options. He said, would you consider residential treatment? And I got all indignant. My ego was through the roof. No, I'm not going to residential treatment. I have no cases left, but I'm a busy lawyer.
And residential treatment, by the way, is where you go for about 30 days and stay.
Quote unquote rehab.
Right. Okay.
But I try not to use those terms. But,
sure.
But yeah, people know it as rehab.
What do you think prevented you from being honest with your psychiatrist or your therapist in the past?
Shame.
Shame. Okay.
Shame.
And what would you say to somebody who's in that same situation where they're not able to open up?
Shame is normal. Shame is a normal human defense mechanism. What I don't like is people say, don't feel ashamed. What you did, don't feel ashamed. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I find that delegitimizing of human feelings. Of course you're ashamed. It's a bodily response, right?
I agree.
It's how the body processes, one of the ways we process trauma and things we do. So of course, I don't tell people not to be ashamed. I say, okay, yes, you're ashamed. I get it. It's a normal feeling. So what's next?
So how did you fight the shame in order to be truthful about everything?
It was scary. And I didn't want to lose my family. I didn't want to lose my girlfriend. I didn't want to lose my family. And why then and not in 2005? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think you said ego played a big part in 2005, right? Yeah. Compared to 2007, you feel like you were more humble in 2007?
I was much more self-aware in 2007 that I was a complete mess.
And how did that self-awareness happen?
The thought that I was on the precipice of losing my family.
Okay. So that was a driving factor, right?
That was one of the driving factors.
It wasn't losing your career, it was losing your family.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It wasn't losing my career. I never wanted to be a lawyer in the first place.
Yeah. And I did notice how you said, so job dissatisfaction is a huge source of depression, anxiety, mood issues for people, right? What do you tell somebody who's in a job that they don't like and it's causing issues like personally or with drugs or alcohol or in their relationships? What kind of advice can you give them?
Well, I ask how that job is going to be different when you come off the drugs, when you come off the cocaine. How is that dissatisfaction going to change? What steps can we take to, if there's either find the satisfaction or if that's just impossible, you're in a job you hate. That happens all the time. To Find satisfaction in yourself, to heal yourself so you can make better decisions.
Okay, so you're saying first we have to see what it looks like without the drugs and alcohol involved, and how you
well,
feel.
What I say is, I mean, there's a guy named Chris Herron, great speaker. He's used to play in the NBA, and he was an intravenous heroin user and just lost his career. And he has a saying, and I credit him with this. Let's not talk about the worst day. Let's talk about the first day. What are you trying? You're miserable at work. You're miserable in your marriage. So you're drinking, you're doing drugs. Are you going to be less miserable when the high wears off? No, right? The problems are still there. The misery is still there. Nothing has changed factually underneath all that. So how can you work on you to start making the factual changes so you no longer need to change how you feel about those things?
Sure. So that means having a different perception about it, or
That's
looking
right.
at it from
you have to heal you. First, you have to work on healing you, and that can be a difficult process because, for instance, I got sober in 12-step. For those who don't know, AA is the most well known, but there are other ones, and the purpose was to stop using cocaine and stop drinking. But that wasn't healing me, right? That was allowing me to tear back all the layers of my life to heal me, to heal that little boy who was bullied and shamed, and to tear back all those layers in therapy. Did I have to have a clear head to do it? Is that the first step? Absolutely. But the true healing has occurred with the therapist.
Okay. So, and that's when you were able to be truthful with the therapist.
That's right.
Okay. So let me ask you a question related to that. What are some things that, being in the mental health field myself, what are some things that we can do or questions to ask where we can pry in more and get in so that you would have felt comfortable per se to answer, those questions?
Well, here's what I tell people. It's called the 2-ask rule. And again, this is something that was pioneered by a wonderful lawyer named Terry Bentley Hill. I'm not a therapist. It's not my job to pry. Prying can be dangerous. Okay, people have a lot of trauma and a lot of triggers, and you don't know what they've been through. Prying can be very dangerous. It can shut someone down, trigger someone into behaviors that you weren't expecting. So we can ask 2 questions. 4 words, a few seconds. Are you okay? How are you doing? Not are you okay? How are you doing? I don't like are you okay? How are you doing? And they may say, I'm fine. Just having a tough day, whatever. And then the second question is, do you know that if you want to talk to me, I'm here for you? The 2-ask rule. And you make sure you ask those 2 questions before the interaction breaks. And what happens with the 2-ask rule, it becomes kind of a cumulative thing where they may not be ready then. They may not want to talk to you, right? They may have someone else they want to talk to, but you have planted a seed. You have become a cog in a continuum of wellness where if someone else asks them how they're doing and someone else, maybe it finally clicks on them, okay, I need to talk to somebody. But here's the thing about the 2-ask rule. It can't be performance art. If you're going to ask someone how they're doing, you better be ready to stick by them if they say, I want to talk, I need someone to talk about, and have some resources. Educate yourself. Don't just do it just to get rid of someone, to say, I did my good deed.
Right. So follow through, basically.
Yeah. So the 2-ask rule, I think, is a way to not be judgmental and to just let people know you care. And they may say, I'm fine. They may say, none of your business. Right?
Right. Okay.
Doesn't hurt you.
But are there any specific things that a therapist or one of your past therapists or psychiatrists could have done or said or asked that would have helped you to open up, though?
No.
Okay, because you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready.
Okay, so there has to be the right timing in place.
Has to be the right timing. Yeah. I mean, I had a 45 automatic on my nightstand, and I wasn't ready.
Right. Okay. So the difference also with the second time you went to Green Oaks was something that came from your own idea, right? It wasn't something that Mark and Jeff, your brothers.
Yeah, my intentions were less than honorable because I went down there. I was trying to figure out a way out of it.
Sure.
But I just realized that it was time. And I can't, there's no magic pill to say, well, we realize at this time or that time. I mean, I think the average person goes to treatment 7 times before they, begin that long-term recovery journey. People go in and out of 12-step. I mean, everyone's different. We all have a different journey. The journey is rarely a straight line. There are steps forward and steps